Welcome, everyone. This is the special Christmas reading episode. I hope you're having a wonderful time with friends or with your families. And if you're not able to spend time with family or friends, I hope you are surrounded by wonderful people, or at least you're enjoying your own company and relaxing during these holidays. So we're going to resume chapter 5, which is called A Flight That Never Lands. So this chapter focused on the Love Yourself trilogy. And you were just learning about the Love Yourself Her album. But it was also a time in 2018, early on, which was a spillover also from late 2017, that BTS were experiencing really very, very tough personal crisis. Yes. And it was the time when they really considered stopping or disbanding. So, okay. Starting with intro, Serendipity, and followed by DNA, Best of Me, and Dimple, the first 4 songs of Love Yourself Her capture the butterflies and joy of love, as well as a passionate confession, something BTS had never done before in their music. These songs capture the joy of love under a single theme, and each one portrays a different moment and emotion, while DNA depicts the butterflies and delight, which can even feel like nerves, of a love for someone you believe. Okay, hang on. Sorry about that. Sorry for the ad. Okay. While DNA depicts the butterflies and delight, which can even feel like nerves, of a love for someone you believe to be your destiny. Best of Me talks about unconditional, passionate love. And Dimple contains every kind of praise for the one you love. BTS were ready to express all these emotions of love. The recording process, as Jimin describes it, hints at how Love Yourself Her became the album that really kicked off their success worldwide. All of the songs in the album are cheery, but they each need to be cheery in a different way, right? I felt this whenever we were recording, and I found that the lyrics helped me so much. I also used my imagination a lot while singing. And there's no doubt that it sounds more pleasant if you smile when you sing. If you do, it really feels like you're excited when you're singing. And so we adjusted the amount we smiled when we recorded each song. Oh, for this song, we should smile only half of the time. For this song, we should smile a lot when we sing. Like that. Each time, it was the lyrics that helped the most. RM wrote a lot of the lyrics for the album, and there are some really beautiful ones. Yes, Namjoon, our poet. All the conditions were set, and the members were ready to show off the best of their abilities. This was the product of their attitude to always turn up at the training room, no matter what emotions they were feeling in the moment. While making Love Yourself Her, however, the problems that had been giving them a hard time psychologically were eating away at BTS. As mentioned earlier, Suga had been overwhelmed by the outpouring of interest in the group. From one end, the attacks were still coming, while there were yet others who were supporting them with everything they had. The people around him, including the other members and army, were the only ones Suga could trust. He says, I thought a lot more about people. I learned how cunning and cruel some can be. So from around then onward, I did not look much at the responses to us online. I tried hard to regain peace of mind, even if there was something good about BTS on the news. I deliberately did not look at it. I did not want to get caught up in that. In outro Her, Suga captures exactly how he felt at the time. And these are the lyrics. Perhaps I'm your truth and lie. Perhaps I'm your love and hate. Perhaps I'm your nemesis and friend. Your heaven and hell. Pride and disgrace. I always struggle to become the best for you. I hope you never know this side of me. What I wanted to say through the Love Yourself Her album as a whole is summed up exactly in the lyrics I wrote for this song. One person's love can be another person's hate, and the occupation called idol can be a source of pride to one person and of humiliation to another. I'm not perfect, but I'm working hard for you. You cannot know about the effort I'm making, though. I'm talking about things like this in the song, right? I don't want to reveal the underside of my emotions. I'm trying my best, and I'd prefer you not to know that. Beneath it all, I'm struggling like this. You could even say that every other thing I wrote in the album was in order to say this. Wow. They were really struggling. At the time of working on the Love Yourself series, BTS had fallen into a cruel irony. Like Suga says, even though BTS weren't perfect, they were doing their best for the people who loved them. Perhaps they would have felt guilty if they had not done their best. The group having made their debut.
Your tone influences how readers respond. With Grammarly, just highlight your text
Other
and type how
one.
you want to sound.
Okay. Perhaps they would have felt guilty if they had not done their best. The group having made their debut while essentially hanging off the cliff of the idol industry, were reaching as far as the heavens, thanks to ARMY. BTS were now in a position to pay back the love they'd received. However, this success, so incomprehensible, it felt as if the whole world was playing a trick on them, made it difficult for them to fully focus on returning the love they'd been given. The November 2017 AMAs, or American Music Awards, were when the psychological pressure and confusion really amplified for Suga. BTS were the first ever Korean artists to be invited and were the only artists from Asia to perform that year. Before they went on stage to perform DNA from Love Yourself Her, Suga had been extremely nervous. It was probably the most nervous I'd been before a performance in my life. I was white as a sheet. My hands were properly shaking. For Suga, was beginning to meet a future that had no answer sheet. The AMAs were when his anxiety had fully become reality. The gap between the ideal and reality was the hardest. Usually, the ideal is so high, and in most cases, you suffer because reality can't keep up with it. But we were the opposite. It was like the ideal was beating up my reality. Wow. That's deep. Heading: Getting tickets. The AMAs became another turning point for BTS. About 2 months before, immediately after its release, Love Yourself Her had it hit number 1 on the iTunes charts across 73 countries and regions. Soon, Twitter and YouTube were none other than BTS's home ground, and the group was making waves across countless countries. On the other hand, the records they'd broken, including their first attendance at the May 2017 BBMAs and their number 7 on the Billboard 200 with Love Yourself Her, reveal that such waves were now also occurring within the world's largest music market of America. Now, with their performance of DNA at the AMAs, BTS were showing America what they were really made of. RM, reflecting on the situation at the time, sums it up with a simple analogy. We got tickets. At the time of the AMAs, however, BTS had no idea what would happen at this place they'd managed to quote-unquote get tickets to. Jimin says, "Actually, I don't know much about award ceremonies like the BBMAs." He laughs. So when we went to the BBMAs for the first time, I asked the Hyungs what kind of award ceremony it was and how big. Jungkook was not very familiar with the US music award ceremonies either. I knew this was something really impressive and understood that it was something to be really thankful for, that it was an honor. What I felt personally was really simple. When the staff briefed us beforehand about various things, I just said, "Sounds good." That was all. And at the award ceremony, I got so much confidence from the fans cheering us on. It was so good. We just had to do a good job at what was handed to us, then leave the stage. For Jungkook, it was outside of the award ceremony stage that he felt the pressure. Interviews were hard. My English is not good, and so it was difficult to understand the conversations. RM had to do the lion's share of the talking, and I felt bad. I wanted to help out in some way, but I couldn't. Oh, I think that's how everyone felt, really, for RM, the pressure. And when you want to answer the questions well and really give your honest thoughts and your genuine thoughts and ideas, and you can't express them, and then it gets dismissed, like that's why they start asking really just shallow questions, because there's a language barrier. But even so, I think the interviewers should have done their homework, really. There were a lot of interviews that were abysmal. Immediately after their appearance at the AMAs, Love Yourself Her re-entered the Billboard 200 at number 198. Then a few days after the AMAs, Steve Aoki's remix of Mic Drop entered the Billboard Hot 100 at number 28 before staying on the chart for 10 weeks running. I like the original Korean version of Mic Drop. I mean, don't get me wrong, Steve Aoki's version is because of the music video and the dancing was incredible, but I saw the practice. They did a number, right, of mic drop presentation, one of the awards, major awards, and they did the Korean version. And even in their Busan concert, the mic drop, I think, version that they did was the Korean version. So I like the Korean version. As soon as they got their tickets to enter the American market, BTS began to expand their position in the US with staggering force. At the same time, the members were being flooded with work with a similar staggering force, and that was in another language too. Subheading: Chaos and Fear. To be honest, I had never felt as much pressure going on stage as I did at the AMAs, though I was always nervous, of course. But I found the interviews and talk shows so difficult. Here, J-Hope is discussing his memories of when they really started to become active in America. So J-Hope felt the same way as Jungkook. He reflects: if I was good at English and could express my thoughts and attitudes properly, I would have enjoyed myself more. This problem really held me back. I think I was okay despite this, because I believed that performing on stage, and even the nerves and anxiety, they were so precious that I had to accept all of it. There were things where I was like, okay, yeah, let's give it a try. But the other things beyond the stage, what I felt about that was just different. For example, when I was asked questions like, how does it feel to have so many fans who love you? If I were to express it in Korean, I could convey how I felt from the heart, but the language is different. At times like that, there's an overall flow to the program, and there are basic comments you have to say, and trying to familiarize myself and memorize all of that. I could sense that I was in over my head. You notice the interviews, right, in the States where everyone was just trying to, joke around and be goofy. I think that was just their way of really hiding the anxiety that they felt. Plus, they wanted probably desperately to lift the burden off RM. And maybe the way they thought they could do that was to just joke around and, just be silly. And because I think they really felt so bad for Namjoon. And Namjoon probably was also feeling tremendous pressure. Yes, that was not a very good situation. Excuse me. As these situations continued, J-Hope realized that something was becoming more and more difficult. When I don't have enough mental space, I burn out. Talk shows, the red carpet. Why are there more ads? Okay. Talk shows, the red carpet, and endless interviews. I felt myself burning out as a result of these things. Yeah, actually, mentally, I think mental stuff is more draining, right? You get more exhausted, really. And then you get, all this, the anxiety, actually, the stress, knowing that no matter how you try and you're way in over your head, there seems to be no end to it. Oh, that's the worst feeling. This was not only about the pressure of a busy schedule in an unfamiliar environment, repeatedly finding himself needing to at least do something, but being unable to contribute a thing, J-Hope drew in on himself. Yes, especially Hobie. Hobie really wants to always help. And with Namjoon, those two are very close, right? And where was that I read that Namjoon really says the second in command or the leader out sometimes really among them, excuse me, is Hobie. So Hobie must have been feeling so distressed. So he drew in on himself. It was frustrating. I'm whipping myself to at least do something, but I can't. I do feel the necessity to study English, but seeing myself not able to do it properly in practice, I think, wow, I can't believe this is all I'm capable of. And berate myself. If I'm lacking in something on stage, I can resolve it by practicing. But it doesn't work like that for studying English. Each time in the hotel room, I thought to myself, oh, so guess this is all I amount to. Oh, I hope, I know they've been practicing and really diligently learning English, and they have improved. We've seen it, but language is that also. It's just practice. It may take longer because Hobie is comparing it to dance when he's been dancing since he was pre-teens. Yeah. So it's just like that also with language. You have to start, well, it takes time, and he just has to keep practicing. And I think he's gotten really better because with all his collaborations with Becky G and then with J. Cole, I mean, I'm sure he still wishes that he's a bit more fluent, but I think he's pushing that boundary already because he has a bit more confidence in himself now to collaborate with all these English-speaking artists. He can do it. One of the reasons why BTS could keep moving forward in any crisis was that in the end, victory or defeat would always be decided on stage. Now, that's true. No matter how disadvantageous their position, and even when it felt like the whole world hated them, all they needed to do was prepare a good song and a great performance and give it their all on stage. However, after their performance at the AMAs, their activities in America sent them into chaos. Given all the members other than RM found it difficult to give interviews in English, it was not easy for them to speak their opinions frankly. It was also hard to put across their unique interview style in which they talk among themselves, allowing their teamwork to come across
Joined the army when I was
naturally.
18. Green Berets and Deltas, taking out warlords, kidnappers.
Yeah, this is the first time that it's just too many ads. Sorry. And so the interviews became an even bigger burden to RM. You can tell over time if you watch all the interviews when Namjoon starts getting really exhausted. I mean, his answers are shorter. Sometimes he's a bit abrupt, but you can see it on his face. Then you can see it also on the members' faces that they really want to help Namjoon, but they don't know what to do. So that's why they, I think, resort to silly stuff. J-Hope pays tribute to RM's role at the time. If it wasn't for RM, we would have been in serious trouble. J-Hope laughs. It would have been difficult for us to get so popular in the US, in my view. RM's role is huge. For RM, the first time he had to give an interview in English in the US was like suddenly being thrown into a battlefield, he recalls. It was our first time at the BBMAs, and they tell us we're going to be interviewed live for a whole hour, out of nowhere. That we're going to be interviewed by 11 US broadcasters, and in 10 minutes from now. It felt like I was having a mental breakdown. all the interviewers had different accents, it was difficult to pick up what they were saying. Even so, I got through it. Is that how it's supposed to be? Because I feel that is not well organized. Is that how they do it? Hmm. I think that's poor scheduling. And especially not thinking about guests or artists where they come from a different country and speak another language. At least you have to think about them. This is where I think it's very one-sided, and really a lot of the interviewers didn't do their work or their job properly. Recalling that time, he pulls a quizzical smile and says, "Then after getting through it, I realized, okay, we're really in big trouble. There's just no going back now." English wasn't the only problem. This was, of course, the first time a Korean idol group had become so popular in America, and the US media did not only ask the group about BTS, but about the idol industry and the Korean popular music industry as a whole. When responding, RM had to trim his message to make it brief, and so as not to cause misunderstanding. Wait a minute. I'm also wondering, why is there no interpreters? Wouldn't Big Hit be able to get interpreters at that time? If the meaning did not come across properly, questions would arise that could cause problems for both Korea and America. Until around the end of 2018, I found it stressful every time. I could not always come up with the answers just like that, so I learned English really as a matter of survival. I still find it difficult when technical topics come up. And for sensitive questions, I didn't think that just avoiding answering left a good impression. So I had to respond tactfully without being provocative or causing misunderstanding, and I had to do that in English. Truly, there were a few really hairy moments. Oh, I wouldn't know how to do that or how to handle that. I mean, if I had to go to another country where I don't speak that language really well, and I'm asked all those questions, those tough questions, and I have to find the right way to phrase them so that I don't offend anyone. Oh my goodness. I think there needs to be some preparation and a way, you have a lot of visiting dignitaries or diplomats or whatever. Don't they get interpreters also? And I don't know. Each and every moment in which RM had to speak English in front of the media was critical, and he needed the wisdom to make it through those critical moments. Now, some time has passed. RM summarizes the concerns he went through back then as follows. Because I always thought that when it came to interviews, I had to be the one to go ahead and open the door. It felt like I was carrying out assignments as they came at me, and I was overwhelmed. So I did not have the space to think of things like, this is getting big. Whereabouts are we now? Right, should we take a quick look around us? I was going, I don't know what this is, but I have to do it quickly. I have so much to do. Tomorrow I needed to do interviews on the red carpet with 20 media outlets, but I could not think about whether it was hard or whatever. I needed to learn one more expression and do the interview well. It all flew by as I went. I'll give it a go for now. So he could not really think, he just reacted just like that. And he just had to do it fast. Think on his feet, like fly by the seat of his pants kind of thing. Heading, Real Love. On April 13, 2018, Jimin filmed a vlog. In the video uploaded to YouTube almost a year later on February 26, 2019, Jimin opens up about the mental anguish he was going through. He had come to consider what his dreams and happiness were, and a few months earlier, at the beginning of 2018, all of the members, not just him, were exhausted physically, and mentally. When asked about that time, Jimin admits, I felt like that. Okay. What was that? Okay. I felt like that for a while as we went from 2017 to 2018. But I think the other members probably were not aware back then. Jimin continues, one time I grew dark for no reason. In the accommodations, there was a 3-meter square room, and I once went in there alone and did not come back out. I don't know what I was thinking in doing that. I don't know why I was being like that, but it was a period where I just suddenly became depressed. And then I began to question myself. Why am I putting my life on the line like this? And that calmed me down a bit. But I think I was locking myself away in that room. Jimin doesn't know himself exactly why he got lost in those worries. However, what's clear is that these complex emotions had been building up over a long period of time. I hope they have some mental health counselors and experts in the team, because these are ominous signs. Jimin reflects. Until around then, we were really busy. Every day we just worked. And powering through like that, I guess you could say I had doubts. It was like we'd started to feel the things we'd lost in becoming singers, celebrities. I often thought, is this happiness? And particularly feeling people's gazes, not just those of ARMY. The thoughts grew bigger. GCF in Tokyo, Jungkook and Jimin. So it's an acronym of Golden Closet Film, or GCF, is a series of video content filmed and edited by Jungkook himself. Record footage in the form of a vlog. It was largely produced and uploaded to the Bangtan TV YouTube channel between 2017 and 2019. So the GCF in Tokyo, Jungkook and Jimin, released on YouTube on November 8, 2017, is a record left by Jungkook and Jimin from the period that was hardest for them mentally. In the accommodations, us two went to bed the latest. We liked hanging out when we were awake. Jungkook and I had lots of similarities in things like that. So we were like, should we go on a trip? How about Japan? And we actually went. When the two first revealed the plans for their trip, Bang Shi-hyuk and the other BTS members were initially concerned. BTS were already international stars. The others could not help but be worried for their safety. In the end, the two were helped by a Big Hit Entertainment employee in Japan, and taking the necessary safety provisions, they left for their trip. Jungkook looks back on that time. When we arrived in Japan, an employee from the company was at the airport. They'd already got a taxi, and as soon as we arrived at the airport, we zoomed out with our luggage and got in the taxi as if we were fleeing and left. There were fans there. So late 2017. From what Jungkook says, it seems that their concerns were materializing. However, it was Halloween at the time, and that gave them an unexpected gift. Jungkook smiles and says, "We went around wearing masks from the movie Scream, with black fabric covering our bodies, and black umbrellas. When people came over, we took pictures. It was fun. We went around, people watching, and when we went to a restaurant, we took off our masks and ate. Jungkook discusses these memories and talks about the joy that came from this simple experience. We were walking down an alley. There weren't many cars. There was the light from the street lamps. It was really beautiful. And then Jimin said his feet hurt, and so we walked slowly. Those simple things were so fun. Jimin expresses his thanks to the fans for respecting the pair's privacy. Actually, we came across a lot of fans who recognized us, but they were considerate of us, and we could go around comfortably.
That guy, one last time. For us.
He then shares his thoughts on the trip. It was so much fun. It was so fun that I wanted to go again. But doing it once, I realized it wasn't a good idea. Jimin laughs. Too many people recognized us. They were two guys in their 20s who had traveled to so many countries, yet could not comfortably go on a trip. Jimin and Jungkook's trip allowed them brief moments to re-experience the simplicity of daily life, but also made the life they were living as members of BTS really hit home. Jungkook in particular felt huge pressure as an artist. The whole world was watching. I can say that this was the time I was most overwhelmed. I loved performing, singing, and dancing. However, the occupation of a singer means being in the public eye. So lots of people already know my face, and it isn't easy to do everything I want, however I please. Other than singing or meeting the fans, I sometimes have to do things I'm not too keen on. I'm well aware that I can't avoid doing these things. But occasionally it got really hard all of a sudden. If I had seen the time spent performing or working on music as precious like I do now, I wouldn't have thought like that. And I think it was because I didn't like music, singing, and dancing back then as much as I do now. So sometimes I told RM that I was struggling. Suga explains Jungkook's position at the time. He especially began this work in his mid-teens. I also started out as a teenager, and you don't generally find what you want to do at that age. Jungkook grew up to be someone who lives his life shattering every ordinary way of doing things. After all that working, I think he needed time to look back on what he was doing, what he was thinking, and what he was feeling. For Jungkook, who since his middle school years had given everything he had to become a singer at Big Hit Entertainment, it's fair to say that he experienced the world through the 6 Hyungs. The great success Jungkook had achieved and the increase in the things he had to do that came alongside that success, as well as the things he had to watch out for, having just entered his 20s, it was only natural he would find these things tough. As RM reflects, all these complex situations culminated into a crisis for BTS. It was the group's first crisis, not because of what was happening outside, but because of what was happening inside the team. The real crisis that we felt firsthand. The problems that had begun internally for each of the members became bigger and bigger and started to rock the group. What was taking place in Suga's mind and body was an omen for the upcoming crisis. Around when BTS's popularity had soared following the AMAs, given that Suga had experienced so much success, he was paradoxically suffering from even greater anxiety because of a future he could not see. Suga recalls, "The way I felt then, The way people treat me is going to change now. I did not think this in the least. I just hope this scary situation is over as soon as possible. I couldn't be glad in the moments I was supposed to be glad, and I couldn't be happy in the moments I was supposed to be happy. Oh wow. Suga, who went through day after day feeling like this, ended up getting insomnia and continued sleepless nights ensued. Wow. Recalling that time when each of the members were struggling with their own problems, J-Hope lets out a word that seems to encapsulate every one of their emotions. Before long, carefully, he continues. In a way, we spent more time together than with our families. And this was when we needed to support one another. It was the first time we'd spent so long in this kind of situation. It was frustrating and we began to struggle. About each other, we thought, why is he being like that? Why does he see the problem that way? And those emotions had piled up, I think. It was a single incident that sent all the members' problems bubbling to the surface. BTS's contract renewal. Let's stop there because I don't think I can take any much more. Oh dear. Okay. It's actually not surprising. They've just been working and working and working. They were very young when they started. Then they got exposed to this steep climb to fame, like really fast. They were all, or back then, exhausted mentally, physically, emotionally. And that's why I asked if in the team, in the staff, if they had mental health experts or counselors and all that stuff. And I mean, sadly, South Korea has the highest, if not one of the highest, public health problem, which is suicidal rates among the young. I hope things have improved. I really, really hope in terms of support. Yeah. And I know the guys have, they've really become much stronger mentally and physically. And in a way, you know what? This military service, I really think it is not the ideal kind of break, but this interruption might help. Because they would see things and be exposed to things that, that are all new. And that's why I was also saying that I really hope they find good men to be friends with that will probably last a lifetime, friendships that will last a lifetime. And I hope these young men in the military will treat them normally, and I know it's, well, who am I to talk? I don't know how it feels like, when you meet a celebrity or you meet someone really famous or anything like that. But I guess when you're in the trenches and you're all tired and exhausted and sweaty and, grumpy and all that, and I think something will make a bond possible. So I wish that for them with all my heart, that they find new friends.
You're paid off to me.
So we shall end because we are always getting some ads here. But so that has been the special Christmas reading for Beyond the Story, a 10-year record of BTS, or Bangtan Sonyeondan, or Bulletproof Boy Scouts. So once again, I wish all of you the very best and happiest Christmas. And I hope that you're able to relax and enjoy this holiday season. And yeah, I'll see you soon. So thank you very much for joining me. Until next time, this is Beyond 1800 with BTS.